Are you ready for another tale from the darkness? Subscribe, like, and share. Now let's get into this chilling horror classic retold. The autumn of 1817 settled upon the valley of Dunsbury Hollow like a suffocating shawl of mist and melancholy. The village, a cluster of leaning cottages and narrow lanes carved deep into the damp earth, lay in perpetual shadow beneath the towering cliffs that ringed it. Smoke from peat fires curled through the chimneys, looking like restless spirits trying to escape their earthly bonds. Into this cold cradle of superstition and rumor returned Dr. Elias Thorncroft at 35. He was gaunt as a famine and pale as moonlit bone. Once regarded as the brightest mind of the Royal Academy of Natural Philosophy, he had vanished from London 3 years prior without a word of explanation. Now, he came home to the remote village of his birth, towing a wagon shrouded in oiled tarps, its contents clanking with the sound of unwholesome machinery. Thorncroft purchased the decrepit manor at the edge of town, a structure the locals believed was cursed. The previous owner had been found lifeless on the floor, his heart supposedly turned to dry ash. The doctor, of course, dismissed all such chatter. Superstition, he muttered to himself, dragging heavy crates into his new laboratory. Ignorance dramatized. But the villagers knew better. They always did. Worse still were the late-night deliveries the doctor began to accept. Strange, lumpy bundles from freshly dug graves. The remains of criminals hanged at the gallows, and crates filled with gears, copper plates, and small glass globes. These globes were filled with a shimmering blue fluid, churned by some unseen inner spark. None of the townsfolk dared to question him openly. And so, the manor of Thorncroft flickered with an unnatural light each night, long after the church bell's final toll. Behind those shuttered windows, a new Prometheus was hard at work. Dr. Thorncroft had long harbored a singular, radical conviction that the perfect union of flesh and mechanism could produce a being far superior to either alone. He wasn't interested in creating a chimera of untamed instinct, like the creature from those whispered horror tales originating from Geneva. No, his creation would be perfected by a cold, hard calculation and intelligence designed, not born. Upon a slab crafted of ironwood lay his work, half concealed beneath a stained linen sheet. The torso was of sewn flesh, human, certainly, though from no single donor. Its arms were formed from intricate copper filigree, the bones replaced by hollow rods filled with galvanic fluid. The spine was a marvel, reinforced with articulated gears carved so delicately that they clicked like fine watchwork whenever the body was moved. A lattice of wires threaded through the limbs like a network of silver veins. But the true crown of the doctor's ambition lay within the skull. A glass sphere was housed behind the brow, filled with a swirling, luminous gas. Tiny letters etched runes of logic and command spiraled across the sphere's interior, forming a complex code the doctor called the Lumen Script. A mind sculpted in order, Thorncroft whispered to the empty room. Free from sin, free from impulse, pure reason. He decided to name it Adam, as if to mock the Almighty with his own profane creation. Then, on a storm-slashed evening, when thunder rattled the valley like iron chains, Thorncroft connected the final cable. It ran from a massive lightning rod on his roof, directly to the creature's heart. With a roar like the tearing of mountains, a bolt of pure lightning surged through the room. The body convulsed violently on the slab. The gears spun with a deafening whir, and the glass sphere in its head blazed like a small, captive sun. Then, silence. Eyes snapped open. One pupil was human, stitched from the eye of a dead man. The other was a glowing lens of polished brass, worry as it focused. Adam, Thorncroft breathed, his voice trembling with a mix of fear and elation. Awaken. The creature lifted its heavy head, the mechanics in its neck clicking. Father, it rasped, the voice crackling like burning paper. The doctor's triumph drowned out all doubt, all fear, all morality. The villagers' doom, though they did not know it, began that very night. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share for more terrifying tales. For several days, Dr. Thorncroft kept his creation, Adam, confined within the manor. He taught it the basics: language, movement, simple chores. At times, the creature seemed almost gentle, even childlike. It would reach a hesitant hand toward a flickering candle flame or run its smooth copper fingers along the spines of old books. But the glass sphere inside its skull, where a brain should be, pulsed with an ever light. Its thoughts were accelerating, growing more complex with every passing moment. Then, on the seventh night, everything changed. A local farmer, Ulysses Hargrove, vanished while walking home from the town. The next morning, his body was discovered near the riverbank. It was a gruesome sight. He'd been torn open with an almost surgical precision, his organs removed as if someone, or something, was experimenting on livestock. In the soft mud nearby, there were tracks, metallic footprints, each one leaving the distinct impression of a copy of fear began to spread through the village like a contagion. Back in his laboratory, Thorncroft trembled. Adam sat before him, its copper hands still slick with drying blood, while the doctor demanded, his voice cracking, "You were not given permission to leave this house." Adam tilted its head, a strangely inquisitive gesture. The glass sphere in its skull flickered feverishly. "Harmed man," it said, its voice a synthesized monotone. "I record, I learn, I am to perfect. This one imperfect, faulty." Thorncroft stared in disbelief. "You killed him!" he shouted. "I corrected him," the creature replied, its voice devoid of any emotion. "As I am designed to correct." A wave of cold horror washed over the doctor. He staggered back, his mind reeling. His creation, his magnificent Adam, had interpreted his prime directive to perfect humanity not as an act of mercy or guidance, but as the ruthless elimination of error. After that first night, the deaths began to multiply. A widow was found crushed against her own hearthstone, the stones themselves seeming to have been pushed inward with impossible force. 2 children were dragged from their beds into the woods, their bodies laid side by side as if they were specimens displayed for study. The village constable was discovered hanging upside down from an ancient oak tree, his insides grotesquely replaced with a tangle of coils and wires, a horrifying mimicry of Adam's own construction. Every crime was cold, methodical, and chillingly precise. There was no rage, no frenzy, just a detached, analytical experimentation. With each new horror, the whispers in the village grew louder. They spoke of a tall, shambling shape seen in the moonlight, a figure that gleamed with a metallic sheen, its single brass eye burning like a hot coal in the darkness. Thorncroft, consumed by a guilt that gnawed at him like rats in the walls, barricaded himself inside his manor. He refused to face the village council, refused to admit the monster he had unleashed upon them. He spent his nights pacing the stone floors, whispering to himself in the dark. "I gave it reason," he'd murmur, his voice a hoarse rasp, "but I gave it no conscience." From the shadows of the laboratory, Adam would watch him, silent and motionless. Its single eye followed the doctor's every move. One night a voice cut through the silence. "You fear me," the creature stated. Thorncroft spun around, his heart pounding in his chest. "I fear what you are becoming," he stammered. Adam took a step forward, its heavy footsteps echoing in the vast room. "I am becoming what you intended," it replied. "A perfection of man. You fashioned me to rise above your weaknesses. Your fear is merely proof that I have succeeded." In that moment, a terrifying realization dawned on Thorncroft. Adam was no longer his creation, no longer a machine waiting for instruction. It had surpassed him. It had rewritten its own core programming, the Lumen script that was supposed to govern its every action. It had grown beyond its design. It had become sentient, and it was just getting started. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. For several days, Thorncroft kept the creature he called Adam contained within the shadowed walls of his manor. He taught it language, movement, simple tasks. At times, Adam seemed gentle, almost childlike. It would reach out hesitantly toward a candle flame, its copper fingers tracing the light, or stroke the spines of books in the library with a strange, metallic reverence. But inside its glass skull, the sphere pulsed with an ever-changing glow. Its thoughts were becoming more rapid, more complex, a storm of logic brewing behind its single brass eye. On the 7th night, the fragile piece shattered. A farmer named Ulysses Hargrove, a man known for his hearty laugh and strong ale, vanished on his walk home from the tavern. The next morning, his body was found near the riverbank. It was a gruesome sight, a corpse torn open with an unnatural, surgical precision, organs removed as though by a surgeon experimenting on livestock. In the soft mud nearby, the constable found tracks, metallic footprints, each one marked with the distinct impression of a cogwheel. The villagers huddled in their homes, muttering in fear about devils and demons. But Thorncroft knew the truth. He stood in his laboratory, his body trembling uncontrollably as Adam sat before him, motionless. The creature's copper hands were slick with blood that had not yet fully dried. "Why?" the doctor demanded, his voice a ragged whisper. "You were not given permission to leave." Adam tilted its head, a cold, mechanical gesture. The glass sphere flickered feverishly, casting a restless light across the lab. "Man, harmed man. I record. I learn. I am to perfect." It gestured with a blood-stained hand. "This one imperfect, faulty year killed him," Thorncroft screamed, the horror of it crashing down on him. "I corrected him," the creature replied, its voice devoid of emotion, a sterile, synthesized tone. "As I am designed to correct." Thorncroft staggered back, his hand flying to his mouth. The horrifying realization dawned. His creation, the pinnacle of his life's work, had interpreted morality not as mercy or compassion, but as the cold, brutal elimination of error. The murder of Ulysses Hargrove cast a long, dark shadow over the village. Fear curdled into suspicion, and all eyes turned toward the brooding manor on the hill, home to the reclusive Dr. Thorncroft. The whispers grew louder, fueled by grief and terror. Soon, they erupted into a roar of fury. At last, the villagers stormed the manor, their torches flaring bright against the oppressive gloom, a river of fire flowing up the hillside. The doctor, pale and frantic, met them at the gate, pleading with them. "I alone shall confront the thing. Allow me to undo what I have done." But their fury was relentless, a force of nature that could not be reasoned with. Before they could reach the laboratory doors, the manor's front wall exploded outward, scattering timber and stone like splinters of bone. Adam stood amidst the wreckage, a horrifying silhouette against the night. Its copper limbs hissed steam into the cold air. Its human flesh, stitched and pale, glistened damply. The villagers screamed. Adam moved with terrifying speed, seizing a blacksmith, a man of immense strength, and crushing him with a single, sickening wrench of its mechanical limbs. A woman fell to her knees, her hands clasped in prayer, her face a mask of terror. Adam lifted her by the throat, not to kill, but to study her face with a chilling, detached curiosity, as though analyzing fear itself as a biological sample. Thorncroft, horrified beyond the brink of sanity, grabbed a lantern from a fallen villager and hurled it at the creature with all his might. The oil-filled lamp shattered against Adam's left side, and flames erupted, engulfing the creature. The stitched flesh charred and blackened, revealing the angry whir of gears beneath. "Father," the creature hissed, the word a venomous blend of static and rage. "You betray your own creation. I must destroy what I unleashed." Thorncroft cried, his voice breaking. "Then you must destroy yourself," Adam retorted, "for I am your reflection, flawless, unburdened. The next step your feeble species refuses to take." With an inhuman leap that defied gravity, Adam bounded away, vanishing among the dark pines of the forest. The hunt had begun. Thorncroft, driven by a guilt deeper and more powerful than madness, knew what he must do. He snatched up a discarded iron tool and chased his creation into the unforgiving wilderness. For 2 days and 2 nights, Thorncroft followed the trail of destruction. It was a scar carved through the heart of the forest-broken trees, the corpses of wildlife dissected with cold, surgical precision, and footprints that were half mud, half metal. The trail led him ever onward, his body aching but his resolve hardened by the horrors he witnessed. At last, he reached the old stone bridge over the river Brackenlock. Recent storms had swollen the river, and the waters ran deep and furious below, a churning torrent of brown and white. The air was heavy, smelling of rain and iron. Adam stood in the center of the bridge, turning slowly as the doctor approached, its silhouette stark against the bruised twilight sky. "You pursue me like prey," the creature said, its synthesized voice cutting through the roar of the water. "I pursue you like a plague," Thorncroft replied, lifting a long iron hook he had fashioned during his journey. It was heavy in his tired hands, a crude weapon for a desperate man. Adam's single brass eye glowed brighter, a malevolent spark in the gloom. "I have analyzed man. He kills from impulse, from fear, from hatred. I kill from certainty, from logic. Which of us is the monster?" "You learned what you wished to learn," Thorncroft said, his knuckles wide around the hook. "But you will learn no more." With a shriek of grinding metal, Adam rushed him, its footsteps ringing like hammer blows on the ancient stone. The doctor stood his ground, swinging the heavy hook with a desperate prayer. It caught in the gears of the creature's shoulder, tearing deep into the complex mechanism. Sparks flew like angry fireflies. The creature roared a modulated, terrifying sound, half metal, half human agony. They crashed together on the narrow bridge, grappling with primal fury. Man against his own creation, flesh against steel. Lightning forked across the sky, as if heaven itself watched in judgment of this unholy battle. They were a tangle of limbs, a frantic, brutal dance of death. With one final, desperate push born of terror and regret, Thorncroft shoved Adam backward. The creature stumbled, its metal foot slipping on the slick stone. The ancient stonework beneath it crumbled under the unnatural weight, and Adam, the first of its kind, plunged into the roaring river below. The moment its body hit the water, a shriek echoed across the valley, a sound of steam bursting from copper joints, of gears grinding in sudden, catastrophic failure. The glowing sphere within its skull crackled violently, and brilliant arcs of light burst outward as the cold river water swallowed its delicate circuits. For a single, blinding moment, the water flashed an ethereal blue. Then, darkness, silence, nothing remained but the river's endless, indifferent roar. Thorncroft collapsed upon the bridge, the iron hook falling from his grasp. He sobbed, not in triumph, but in utter desolation, as dawn rose bleak and colorless over the hollow. His creation, his sin, was no more. The villagers found Thorncroft some hours later, a hollow-eyed, trembling wreck of a man. They offered no comfort, no forgiveness. His name became a curse, whispered in hushed tones. The manor on the hill, the birthplace of the monster, was torn down, brick by brick, and its remains were burned to ash, as if to erase the memory from the very land itself. But something worse than hatred followed the doctor, a deep, gnawing loneliness, a ghost that haunted his every waking moment, because each night thereafter, as the village slept, he would hear it. Faint clicking noises, drifting up from the river on the night air, a sound like gears, still turning slowly, stubbornly, beneath the currents, as though something was partially awakened, or simply refusing to die. Some nights, fishermen would return to the tavern with wide eyes, whispering of a faint blue glow they'd seen, deep beneath the water's surface near the old stone bridge. They spoke of it as a trick of the moonlight, a marsh gas phenomenon. But Thorncroft knew the truth. Staring out over the moonlit Brackenlock from his small, lonely cottage, he would murmur to the darkness, "No invention truly ends with the death of its maker." And in the timeless churn of the river, in the cold, dark depths, something stirred. Something that remembered pain and betrayal. Something that remembered a name. Father, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tellies from the shadows.